Enter Wallace Wallace. When my dad was a helicopter pilot in Vietnam, he once rescued 8 Navy SEALs who were stranded behind the enemy lines. He flew back using only his left hand because the right one had taken a bullet. With the chopper on fire and running on an empty tank and just gas fumes, he managed to outmaneuver a squadron of MiG fighters and make it safely home to base. That was my favorite story when I was small. It was also a total pack of lies. The bullet scar on Dad's arm was really left over from a big infected pimple. And by the time I was old enough to do the math, I realized that when the war ended in Vietnam, my father was 14. I was pretty clueless, like little kids can be. I thought my parents had a great relationship. The only thing they ever fought was about lying. And even then, the arguments were short. Mom wanted the truth, and Dad wouldn't recognize it if it danced up and bit on him on the nose. But even though I didn't really understand what was going on, I guess it percolated down to me somehow. The more Dad lied, the more I told the truth. My earliest memory is on my mother complaining that the laundry had shrunk her new pants. "Your pants didn't get smaller, Mommy," I assured her. "Your butt got bigger." Little kids get away with that kind of stuff. So she laughed it off. But she wasn't laughing 3 years later when the next door neighbor asked my opinion of her light and fluffy cake. I thought it over. It tastes like a vacuum cleaner fuzz, and the icing reminds me of antifreeze. "Wally, how could you say such a thing?" My mother wailed when we got home. "Mom," I asked, "did Dad really miss my birthday party because he had to visit a sick friend?" It didn't matter that she didn't answer. I already seen the hotel bill on my father's night table. The desert in Las Vegas. I was more stuck on the truth than ever. For me, honesty wasn't just the best policy. It was the only one. I told my soon-to-be ex-piano teacher that her fingernails reminded me of Velociraptor claws. To cook at summer camp, I informed that his pork chop could double as a bulletproof vest. My cousin Belinda's clarinet playing, I described as somebody strangling a duck. "Must you be so, colorful?" my mother moaned. "When it's the truth," I said firmly. "But the Abernathys are so proud of their new house. Did you have to announce that it's built on a slant?" "It is!" I dropped my yo-yo, and it rolled all the way to the kitchen. "Wally, how can I make you understand?" I used to wonder if things would have been different if I had the guts to tell my dad that he didn't have to be a war hero or an astronaut or a CIA agent. It was enough for me that he was my dad. I almost did it once. I was so close. But before I could get my mouth open, he said, "Wally, have I ever told you about the time I led a crew that put out oil well fires?" So I gave up, and eventually so did Mom. I was in 5th grade when they got their divorce. By then, I wouldn't have told a lie at gunpoint. That's why I never once complained about the black guy I got for telling Buzz Boltzguy he had the IQ of a ring-ding. You won't see me crying after the fact that I haven't received a birthday present from Uncle Ted for 2 years. The fact is, Uncle Ted's toupee really did look like a small animal had crawled up onto his head and died there. If he didn't want the truth, he shouldn't have said those fateful words. "Do you notice anything different about me?" So when Mr. Fogleman had us write book reviews in 8th grade English, I wasn't trying to be rude or disrespectful or even smart alecky. I gave Mr. Fogelman what I gave everybody. The truth. The whole truth and nothing but the truth. Old Shep, My Paul by Zach Paris is the most boring book I've read in my entire life. I didn't have a favorite character. I hated everybody equally. The most interesting part came on the last page where it said, "The end." This book couldn't be any lousier if it came with a letter bomb. I would not recommend it to my worst enemy. Mr. Fogelman scanned a few lines and glared at me, flaming with an anger. This isn't what I assigned. I should say that I had nothing against Mr. Fogelman at that moment. He was okay, the kind of young teacher who tried to be one of the guys, but everything he does only shows how out of it he is. I just wanted to set the record straight. Yes, it is, I told him. The assignment sheet said to give our honest opinion, write what was our favorite part and character, and make a recommendation. It's all there. Old Shep, My Paul is timeless classic, roared the teacher. It won the Gun Hold Award. It was my favorite book growing up. Everybody loves it. He turned to the rest of the class. Right? The reaction was a murmur of mixed reviews. It was okay, I guess. Not too bad. Why did it have to be so sad? Exactly. Fogelman pounced on the comment. It was sad. What a heartbreaking surprise ending. I wasn't surprised, I said. I knew Old Shep was going to die before I started page 1. Don't be ridiculous, the teacher snapped. How? I shrugged. Because the dog always dies. Go to the library and pick out a book with an award sticker and a dog on the cover. Trust me, that dog is going down. Not true, stormed Mr. Fogelman. Well, I challenged. What happened to the Old Yeller? Oh, all right, the teacher admitted. So Old Yeller died. What about the Sounder? Piped up Joey Quick. And Bristleface, added Mike. Feather, Ringley, one of my football teammates. Don't forget where the red fern grows, I put in. The double whammy, 2 dogs die in that one. You've made your point, growled Mr. Fogelman. And now I'm going to make mine. I expect a proper review, and you're going to give it to me during detention. Nice job, Wallace. I caught the short pass and turned upfield. Wham! Steve Kavanaugh hit me at hip level, and I saw stars. It was a clean tackle, totally legal, but it was pretty hard for practice. This had less to do with Kavanaugh's toughness than it did with the fact that we used to be best friends. Steve, are you crazy? Kavanaugh's body was yanked off of me, and the face of Rick Falcone, our quarterback, took its place in my field of vision. Wallace, are you okay? Speak to me. I pushed him away and jumped up. I'm fine, Rick. It was a legal hit. Rick looked daggers at Kavanaugh. You idiot. You could have injured our best player. Why'd you have to nail him? Kavanaugh pulled off his helmet and down cascaded. The longest, blondest hair at Bedford Middle School. What did you want me to do? Give him a pedicure? If there was one thing Kavanaugh had more of than hair was sarcasm. I'm not the best player, I told Rick. Yes, you are, Rick countered. I scored 1 touchdown all year, I insisted. Well, jackass, my ex-best friend reminded me. 1 is a pretty big number for a guy who spent the whole season on the bench. 1 is all it takes, Rick pointed out, when it comes with 3 seconds to go in the country champion. Okay, that part was true. Actually, I was only on the field as a blocker, but Rick panicked and handed off too high, stuffing the ball into my ex-best friend's face, jamming it between the mouth guard and the visor. Poor Kavanaugh never saw the 2 linebackers who sandwiched him. The ball popped out, sailed over the heads of both teams, and blooped into the end zone. It was a total fluke, I insisted. Anybody could have jumped on that ball. But you did, Rick told me, and we won the championship. They just didn't get it. It would have been great to be a football titan if it was truth, but to act like an all-star when I was really a pretty mediocre player, that was almost as bad as lying. I didn't give in. Why does that make me the hero? Why not Kavanaugh's face? Or even you, Rick? Without that bonehead handoff, you probably would have lost. Hey man, Rick said angrily. Deep down, a tiny little part of my brain sensed that I needed to do that. It was, subhuman. You mean subconscious, I supplied. Whatever. At that moment, Feather sprinted up with two of the defensive backs hot on his heels. What's going on? He panted. Did Wallace get hurt? He's fine, Kavanaugh assured him. My ex-best friend sounded disappointed. In a way, I couldn't blame him. I was getting all this credit for being the best player, which was what Kavanaugh really was. He was an explosive receiver with great hands. He ran like a deer, and he could cover any position on defense. He was even the kicker, so good field position, extra points, and field goals all came from him. He ate right and worked out like a maniac. As team captain, he had every reason to expect to be admired. I didn't blame him for hating me. I blamed him for being a total jerk about everything else. Uh-oh, Feather said soundly. Quit goofing off. Here comes my dad. His father, Coach Ringley, jogged up, blowing sharp blasts on his whistle. Wait a minute, Wallace. What are you doing here? The coach always called us by our last names, which in my case made no difference. Short passes, Coach. Not today. You're supposed to be on detention right now. I gazed over the coach's shoulder. There at the edge of the field stood Mr. Fogelman. Detention? Repeated Rick. But our first game is tomorrow. He should have thought of that before opening up his big mouth to Mr. Fogelman, growled Coach Ringley. I'm ready for tomorrow, I assured Rick. My ex-best friend reached out and patted the seat of my pants with his helmet. I agree. Your butt is in perfect shape. Get ready to sit on that bench for another grueling season. Rick wasn't consoled, but I wanted to practice the flea flicker. Check it out. Take the handoff, toss it back to me, and I hit Kavanaugh with a 50-yard bomb. I had to laugh. You couldn't throw a ball 50 yards if you swallowed the booster rocket off the space shuttle. The coach rolled his eyes. There's that famous honesty that makes people love you so much, Wallace. Well, how about an extra workout tonight? Rick persisted. I can't, said. I've got to paint the garage door. Can't you get out of it? Reeled the quarterback. I dug in my heels. It's just me and my mom. If I don't do it, who will? Unless, I popped a sly grin, you guys want to come and help. Not me, chorused everybody. Come on, I coaxed. Last year it took 10 minutes because you bamboozled half of the team into painting with you, Kavanaugh pointed out. Not bamboozled, I said. The guys all knew what they were getting into. Great, complete Rick. First round detention, and now we have to paint your stupid garage door if we want to have a flea flicker. It's the icing on the gravy. I should probably explain about Rickism. Our quarterback had a way with words, the wrong ones. He could take two perfectly normal expressions and wind them up together like a pretzel. The icing on the gravy was probably supposed to be the icing on the cake, but Rick got mixed up with the idea that something extra could be described as gravy. I had them hooked, so I reeled them in. Come by right after practice, I invited. I bought extra brushes for the whole offense. There was groans of resignation from the team. Coach Ringley waved to follow me on the sidelines. All right, who's coming? He turned to me. Get out of here, Wallace. Go serve your time.